people, in spite of still losing 3 of our residents that were dear to the city of New Orleans. It's been a long time coming. And I really want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and give some context to what many of us have seen for over a week now. Canal Street opening back up. We wanted to make sure that we got it done right. We wanted to continue to be thoughtful in our approach and be careful as it related to working with all of the agencies and partners to make this progress happen. And again, never forgetting the lives that were lost here. This will always be sacred ground in my heart and in the city of New Orleans and on this very, very important artery in our city. Again, we wanted to make sure we got this done right. We're happy again that one of the most busiest streets, one of the most important streets has now been reopened. In spite of, again, the challenges that we have faced, even after this collapse, whether it is being in the cone 8 times of a very aggressive hurricane season to, of course, dealing with the pandemic that we continue to move through right now. We have remained responsible in ensuring that those responsible for the collapse did everything that was necessary to clean it up, clean up their mess and return our street back to the people, back to our businesses, and back to the city of New Orleans. Again, this was a heavy lift, a coordinated effort, a coordinated response. And I have to thank my people who have been on the ground every step of the way. Whether that is my deputy CAO, Ramsey Green, he is here. Ms. Tammy Jackson, who is my director of safety and permits. Thank you, Tammy. Oh, Miguel, Capital Projects Administrator, we couldn't have gotten this done without Miguel. David Morris, even, Director of Special Projects. Thank you so much, David, for getting us here, man. Even as I think about Joe and Alan with our Department of Public Works family, thank you. The New Orleans Fire Department, former Chief Tim McConnell, current Superintendent Roman Nelson, Captain Dufresne, Captain Simon, and Captain Mattery. Thank you so much. Also, have to give a strong thank you to Courtney, Wong, Margaret McGee, Jeff Swartz for helping guide our businesses that were tremendously impacted due to this collapse and the trying time that they faced getting back up and going, and some really not at all. And of course, you know, I just got to underscore again the sacrifices that our businesses have made. And so we do have David Rubenstein with us. We also have Ms. Joanne Fisher with us, who you'll hear from in a few minutes. But as we move forward to bringing back Canal Street, I have to even give a shout out to the interim director of the Downtown Development District, but really with my focus on leadership coming to the DDD that will be transformational for Canal Street, for our CBD community. I do know that the RFP was released on April the 23rd, I believe, for a consultant that will come forth to lead the DDD through a process in the selection of our next executive director. Submissions, the deadline for that, any interested parties, Tuesday, May the 4th. And so that will allow, again, for the timeline to move forward for the selection of our DDD leadership, and one that I'm absolutely looking forward to. Right now, I want to ask my Deputy CEO, Ramsey Green, to come forth to give you a little bit more about what this means for our city, the process that we have faced, and next steps associated with the downtown area. So with that, Ramsey Green. Gotta put the shade back.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thanks everybody for being here. This site is a sacred one, and the city, under Mayor Cantrell's leadership, has always honored that. That not only is this a place where we don't have any accidents in the future while we were going through this process, that we honor our residents to make sure that we bring it back to the vibrant place that it once was. And that took a long time. And I just really want to especially recognize David Morris from the resilience team, who's been here since the moment after this building fell, and Julio Miguel, goes by Miguel Vitieri, who represented the city in every project meeting to get us to where we are today and is working on this project all the time. And the New Orleans Fire Department, which has been here since the moment that this occurred, and former Chief Tim McConnell, who really escorted us to this point. Really, at this point, we've opened up Canal, one lane going lakebound, the other side is blocked off as a protected pedestrian lane, making sure there's construction that can happen, going a little bit into the public right-of-way. 2 lanes of vehicular traffic on Canal are now open from Burgundy through North Rampart. The outside lane is shut down, but traffic seems to be going pretty well. We're working to ensure that the sidewalk and the streetscape is repaired. Our next steps are at the end of May. We're tracking for a partial reopening of Rampart over there. Again, that's a partial reopening, not the full reopening. At the same point, when we do a partial reopening of Rampart, we're going to fully reopen Iberville Street. And then next step after that is the Canal streetcar line right here would reopen in July. We've got a lot of catenary lines that need to be replaced, and that work is underway. The final step of this is the Rampart Street catenary lines that go down that way and getting the RTA line back operable this fall. We'll get more specific on that timeline once we have more information. But at this point, just a huge shout out to RTA, to Sewage and Water Board, to the Department of Public Works for keeping the work going despite a pandemic, 8 hurricanes last year, and a very difficult overall 2020 and into 2021. And also a big thank you to Cindy Connick, who's always representing, ensuring that the Sanger comes back after some roof damage due to the initial incident, and you can see that work is underway at this moment. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Ramsey. And we're going to keep it going. I'm going to ask Jeff Swartz, and Jeff will be followed by Richard McCall, and then we're going to hear from our business owners, Ms. Fisher and Mr. Rubenstein.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. There are so many dimensions to this tragedy, and I am excited to be here today to speak to the business elements of the Hard Rock disaster. Historic Canal Street, as we all know, is so named for a navigation canal that was never built. It's one of the widest streets in the country and is the main artery of downtown New Orleans. As is the case with a heart and a body, when a major artery is blocked, the whole body suffers. Today we're marking an important step toward a downtown economy that is healthy and vibrant once again, and we can hear that others are celebrating that fact as well. While public safety and respecting the lives that were lost in this tragedy have been the mayor's and the administration's top priorities, from the beginning, Mayor Cantrell and other city leaders were focused on supporting the many affected businesses returning to this area of commerce, many of whom are still being impacted by this tragedy, as we'll hear today. Within days of the collapse, we set up a satellite office in the main branch of the public library to provide services. We started regular calls with business owners to provide timely information and two-way communication between business owners, the neighbors, and the city. We worked quickly and effectively with the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness at the city and state to get the collapse declared a disaster by the SBA, which opened up federal resources to businesses in need. And we can all remember that this is all pre-COVID. And these were, of course, the emergency disaster loans. We worked with business owners and our friends at the Downtown Development District on a marketing campaign and signage to direct customers to businesses, many of whom remained open throughout this entire process. We worked with, as Ramsey noted, utility providers and insurance companies on businesses' behalf to provide relief in the midst of some very challenging circumstances. I want to give a shout out to the economic development partners in the DDD, Lee and Richard, Ryan, and many other members of their team, as well as at Stay Local, Marianne and Dana, who worked tirelessly to support our downtown business owners through this process. I also want to give a big shout out to many of my colleagues, as the mayor and Ramsey did before, members of my team, Courtney Stuckwish-Wong and Margaret McGee, who worked day in and day out over the last 18 months or so with business owners, as well as Ramsey and David, Tammy Jackson, Miguel Viteri, the fire department, law, and many, many others. This was truly a team effort. You've all worked the very long tail of this tragedy, and I want to recognize and thank you all for your service as well. We know that the impacts of this tragic event will be felt for a long time, but we're committed to the success of Canal Street and the small businesses who make downtown such a vibrant place to live, work, and play. You have my commitment that we'll be here every step of the way. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day downtown. As you can hear, the sounds and sights of downtown are beginning to return to normal, and we're getting our first taste of summer this week. So all leaning towards a feeling of normalcy beginning to come back in our city. On behalf of the DD board and staff, I'd like to thank Mayor Cantrell for your leadership, guiding us through this tragedy. I want to commend your team for their efforts in pushing through this very complicated project. Way too many people to name, but most of you know who you are. We really sincerely appreciate all of your efforts in getting this intersection back open, helping get downtown back to life. The reopening of Canal Street's great news for downtown and our businesses who have been directly impacted by the collapse. Making sure downtown is accessible is in keeping with a popular destination for working, for entertainment, and for downtown. Excuse me. Within minutes of the collapse, the DD developed and implemented an outreach plan to those businesses and property owners impacted, and that effort continues today as we move through the pandemic recovery. Since the collapse, we've seen many businesses return or preparing to return. Fisher's Jewelry and Big Easy Tattoo were among the first to reopen after it was deemed safe by city officials. Hosting International experienced layoffs and had to close as a result. Expected to reopen later this fall as we begin to continue to recover from the pandemic. Ruby Slipper used the opportunity to serve meals to first responders, and that restaurant is currently closed, but will return with an expanded dining room and new kitchen. Real estate development has been very strong in the 1,000 blocks prior to the collapse. Today, we're standing across some very exciting projects at both 1012 and 1016 Canal, which we're in the process of rebuilding following this devastating fire. And there's continued development happening along this historic corridor. We'd like to thank all the business and property owners who have struggled since the collapse for their patience and perseverance for this day to come. And I think now you'll hear from a couple of those, so thank you all very much.
Miss Joanne, thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Fisher family, I would like to welcome everyone back to Rampart and Canal. While it has been a challenging 18 months, we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. We are seeing more and more regular, long-time customers and seeing more new customers. Sales have increased, and we see only good things happening in the future on our corner and on Canal Street in general. So we want to invite everyone to come on down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate it. The one thing I want to say is I think they've done a wonderful job of opening the streets up, and now I see business, traffic just increasing right and left, and it's really what's so important to the city. So I think everybody's done a fantastic job and should be congratulated. One thing I do want to add, though, that I hope will be considered is the businesses that here on this block near it, we need to start opening them up and supporting them. They went through a lot, but they're important, as all the stores are on Canal Street. But the other thing that I want to really add is I think this is an opportunity to review tearing down historic buildings. You know, in 1970, when they were building the big hotels down at the foot of Canal Street, all the business people said, wait, we're tearing down our history. And we're a historic city. That's why people come. The French Quarter, the homes, the old things. We're redoing our building on the corner of Canal Street, which is interesting. I just found the deed from 1840 when it was in the 65th year of the founding of the United States. It's a historic building that people come to see. So we're restoring it with Joe Yeager. And that's really what it's about. So I hope before we let rich people tear down our history to build big buildings, we will look at it and say, no, history is the most important thing that keeps our city alive, because it is what keeps it alive. But I congratulate the administration for completing this, and I think it's wonderful we're getting back, and I'm glad that the virus is getting down because we see people coming. So congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. And at this point, Ms. Latanya, we'll take questions. Well, I have not received any indication that they will not. So absolutely remaining hopeful. And also businesses were impacted by COVID as well. And so this is an opportunity, again, that we will be doing outreach to make sure that we are connecting them to resources that they're eligible for.
Great job in getting this back together. We see all of the different partners that have made that happen. What do you desire for this space going forward? What type of establishment would you like to see there?
Well, it is privately owned. There is a process that would have to be followed through the City Planning Commission, through the New Orleans City Council. But as you know, there are land use ordinances already drafted as it relates to the uses for this parcel. So I want any development that is aligned with the current land use and zoning laws that are currently in place. And so we know that it's commercial, and it can be another hotel, it can be many different things according to the current zoning laws that are in place. So that's what I want. I want a vibrant Canal Street. I want, businesses to come back and be even stronger than we've seen in a mighty long time. That's what I want. I want additional armpits on Canal Street, like over here, to be shaved. So I know that this stands to be a catalytic project, again, to other development that we want to encourage and have along Canal Street. That's what I want.
Mayor Cantrell, the partial reopening on Rampart, that'll be at the end of May, correct?
Well, the partial reopening of Rampart, one, we're still investigating that, right? Ramsey has indicated right around May, but again, we have work to be done on Sanger Theater, but we're working through the partners. But I'll let Ramsey add a little bit more meat on that. Go ahead, Ramsey.
Yeah, Aubrey, it's we're tracking toward the end of May for both ways, but we're still going to have to reduce a lot of the right-of-way. So in other words, sort of like Canal is one lane right now, on the lakebound side, we would do something like that where people can drive both ways while the Sanger gets worked on, and if we have subsurface infrastructure that needs to be worked. But that's end of May is what we're tracking right now.
We'll keep you posted, as we learn more and as we do more.
Mayor or for Ramsey,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any idea what the total price tag to the city of all this has been, Mayor? And have
Oh,
you
Lord.
reported to the Hard Rock's insurance company?
Oh, sure. So we know in an upward of over 6 million, the direct impact, and that is it's even larger than that. We're going through litigation right now, and that's where we stand. Anything to add on that?
I think it's important to note, Rob, the city did not pay to demolish this building, and that has been a #1 directive since this occurred. Yes, we had indirect costs, but think about the timeline. October 2019, this thing fell. The city made the ownership pay to demolish the building. We still have claims, there's still litigation, there was a lot of cost to the city. I just think that's an important distinction there.
No, it is very important, Ramsey, because as you see, we went through the collapse. Then the next thing you knew, we went through a cyber attack, and the next thing you knew, we went through a pandemic. And so that has created a deficit for the city of New Orleans. So just imagine if the city took on the liability of a private entity of paying for demolition, we could have gone bankrupt. And that's something that I was adamant about preventing. Thank you, Ramsey. Okay, RTA.
So again, this is all, we're heading into hurricane season. We have rain events. Tentative timeline right now, Canal Street car, where we're standing, July. I don't know when exactly, but tracking for July. Rampart streetcar, fall 2021. Yes. So right now you've got two, essentially each line is, or canal is broken into, the way it is now. Rampart similarly, you would get the whole connections, everything done by fall. And we'll give you more information once we have it.
Other questions pertaining to Canal Street?
All right, that's it. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Absolutely.